Let's go back in time to when Black Ops 2 was first being developed. Treyarch was super ambitious, and a lot of the leaks at the time suggested that the game was going to be massive. In addition to the normal zombies that we've come to know and love, there were going to be an additional 7 extra unique game modes. So you'd have your classic mode, you'd have your survival, which was supposedly like infected, you had a game mode known as race, as well as meat, no man's land, turned, returned, and then grief. Now some of these we ended up getting in the game, like classic mode, turned, and grief. We also got survival, but it was nothing like infected and was really just a classic mode. There was also a game mode named meat mentioned. Now we never saw meat and we never played meat, but Jason Mundell once explained on Zombros what it was like. It was essentially a race against 2 teams to try and get a piece of meat. And while you'd be racing towards this meat, you would have zombies chasing after you, and the map would change around you, and this would affect how you, played through the map. We even got a leaked image from meat that suggested or gave you an idea of what it may have actually looked like in-game. Then there were these other game modes that we never saw or heard about, like returned or race. So they're just kinda left to speculate, but with all these unique game modes plus our classic zombies, Black Ops 2 should have been a blast and something that could keep you coming back for years. Unfortunately, we only saw 2 of these 8 different game modes on launch, and then a few months later, we got turned. So what happened to all these other great game modes and ideas? Why did they fall the wayside, and what happened to Treyarch's ambition? Did they just give up? Well, what happened was that Treyarch was too ambitious. Jason Blundell once explained on Zombros that they tried to do too many things at launch with Treyarch, and a lot of it had to be cut. Remember that game development is essentially a game of resource allocation. You only have so many people on your team, you only have so much time, and you only have so much space on disk. So you have to be as efficient as possible in order to create the best game that you're able to. And so when they were developing Black Ops 2, they had all these great ideas, all these cool game modes that probably would have been really fun, and they spent a lot of time and effort. But because they spent so much time on making these game modes, other things got neglected, like the development of Tranzit. Tranzit was such an unpolished map because they wasted a lot of time developing all of these unique game modes, and then when the map launched, that was reflected in how well the map was received. Tranzit was one of the most poorly received maps on launch. A lot of the community several years later doesn't like Tranzit, and it's often one of the most shit on maps in zombies, and a lot of this comes down to the fact that just Treyarch tried to do too much. They spread themselves too thin, and the map suffered as a result. They didn't have the time to polish Tranzit because they spent too much time making these game modes that ended up getting cut. And I feel like there's a lot of parallels between the development of Black Ops 2 and Black Ops 4. After all, Black Ops 4, like Black Ops 2, is one of the most ambitious zombies we've ever received. And then on launch, Black Ops 4 had a lot of problems. So maybe the real reason Black Ops 4 has been such a quote-unquote failure or disappointment to the community is because Treyarch was once again a little too ambitious. Remember that Black Ops 4 was the first time that Treyarch had a full 3-year development cycle in a Call of Duty game. This extra time may have actually inspired them to make the game even more grandiose than previously, which is a noble idea. However, this noble idea may have led to their downfall because maybe they overestimated what really could be done in a 3-year development cycle. Think about what we got on launch. We got 4 full-size maps. We got a whole new perk system with many different perks. We have one of the most ambitious customization systems we've ever seen that allows you to have millions of unique combinations. And we got 8 new specialist weapons. The list goes on, and Black Ops 4 is massive in terms of what we've gotten at launch previously. Compare what is in Black Ops 4 on launch to what's in Black Ops 1 on launch, and it pales in comparison. Typically, we'll get one new full-size map and a smaller map, like Shadows of Evil and The Giant in Black Ops 3, Transit, and then Nuketown in Black Ops 2. Well, in Black Ops 4, Treyarch said fuck that and gave us 4 full-size maps with full Easter eggs and everything, the works. And sure, they got all of that in-game, but think about this in terms of opportunity costs. The time they spent building 4 new maps, they could have spent doing other things such as bug fixes and stability fixes, and Black Ops 4 needed a lot of them, considering that the list of stability fixes they made since launch is over 10 pages long and took about 2 to 3 months to fix. And yes, I'm aware that the game is not perfectly stable yet, but it's a far cry better than what we had at launch. Regardless, quite possibly, 3 years just wasn't enough time to develop 4 maps, and it's like the expression that your eyes are bigger than your stomach. And this feels even more apparent when you consider that Treyarch is used to debugging just 1 new map at a time. Well, when you develop 4 new maps at once, suddenly you need to debug 4 maps at once. In theory, this should quadruple your debugging time, and that is something that maybe they didn't consider. And that could have contributed to them overlooking a lot of these issues in Black Ops 4, because they had to get these 4 maps ready for launch. They had promised them, and I'd rather have a map that is semi-playable than a map that is not playable, and then you get bugs that leak into the game. And this only gets worse when you consider that Black Ops 4 was released a month earlier than usual. It dropped in October to compete with Red Dead Redemption 2, so Treyarch actually didn't have a 3-year development cycle in this game. They had 2 years and 11 months. That might not seem significant, but considering it took Treyarch a month or so to really nail down most of the stability issues, they really could have used this extra month. I think had Treyarch dropped maybe one of the launch maps, then maybe they could have had more resources and more time to dedicate to the 3 other maps and make sure they're rock solid. This would have then prevented the game from being such a mess in terms of crashes and stability on launch, and maybe the community wouldn't be as opposed to Black Ops 4 as it is now. I do think, though, it's important to remember that Treyarch doesn't want to or ever intend to release a bad or broken game. There are developers who care, and they're trying their best to give us the best zombie experience. Unfortunately, they might just be trying a little too hard, and then they just spread themselves too thin. Now, this doesn't mean that Treyarch is entirely blameless for the current state of Black Ops 3. But I think it's important that we don't assume malintent, and remember that they really are trying to deliver us a game that we're happy with. I think a big thing now, though, is for us to look forward and look to the future, because all of this is behind us now. We have many more DLC to come. Treyarch has shown a willingness to support their game, and with new game modes being launched quite often and a whole new line of communication, the future of Black Ops 4 is looking bright. And hopefully in 3 to 4 months' time, this will be the ultimate zombie experience. And this leads into my question for all of you. What do you want to see in zombies in the coming months? Or what changes or steps do you think Treyarch should take specifically to improve their game and win back your trust as a player specifically? I'd love to hear what you guys think, and maybe we can discuss this more in a future video. Let's try to keep the conversation positive, though, and hopefully look towards a bright future with Black Ops 4 Zombies, because I think we can all agree the one thing we want is a good zombies game. So let's try to imagine what a good zombies game would be like. That's going to wrap things up for this video. If you enjoyed it, maybe give it a like, possibly subscribe for more. I'm always covering zombies, so if you enjoyed this video, I'm sure you'll enjoy the next one. Have a wonderful day, and